embarrassing. But, at least, in my opinion, the 90s Amalgam comics did miss a trick when they did Mandarin-estro instead of doing Sinestron. To make up for this whole Iron Lantern debacle from my last weird Marvel DC Fusions episode, I'm gonna make some even weirder combinations this time using Marvel and DC villains. Combinations that are so weird, nobody else could have come up with them before. Like, Doctor Doom and, I don't know, Doomsday. Huh. Alright, fine. We'll just have to go even weirder than that. Let's go. Hit like, if you want. Subscribe, if you feel like. But either way, enjoy the show. Barbara Von Doom was a scientist and mysticism enthusiast around the time of the Second World War. She was aiding in the creation of weapons for the US military when the Panther of Wonder, Cheetah of Themaconda, joined the Allies' side of the war. Barbara was fascinated by the Panther and would question Cheetah endlessly about her homeworld and her powers whenever she got a chance. You see, Barbara wanted power. She'd always craved it, and she knew there had to be a way for even a mortal like her to attain it. Maybe, in Themaconda, she thought, she could find her own powers. But Cheetah couldn't take her there. For the time being, she'd been excommunicated for stealing the Panther suit and joining the world of man. But Barbara didn't believe her. She thought Cheetah was just being selfish, and so Barbara abandoned her career in search of Themaconda. Her family had possessed a vast fortune that had been left to her when they died. Their deaths had been reported as a mysterious accident, but Barbara had been there. She'd seen the other Von Dooms killed by a demon from another realm, a being they'd accidentally summoned by practicing sorcery. That was what had spawned Barbara's obsession with power. She'd seen the great might of that demon and wanted nothing more to be as formidable herself. So nothing out in the multiverse could ever harm her, as that thing had harmed her family. After 2 years of searching the jungles of Africa, she finally found something. Not Themaconda, but still, something she was looking for. Grown over by the green of the forest was the ruins of a long-dead rival tribe to the Themacondans, the Cheetah tribe. And scouring through the ruins of their home, Barbara discovered the helm of the Cheetah, a relic similar to the Panther of Wonder suit. The wearer of the helmet was granted the mystical powers of a cheetah god, and had been meant to protect the Cheetah tribe. Clearly the last one had failed. Barbara donned the helmet and was granted the incredible power she sought. But she wanted more. She claimed the abandoned land as her own and began building a kingdom there. She continued studying sorcery and was that much more adept at it for having the powers of a cheetah god at hand. After a few years, Barbara began practicing incredibly dangerous spells that put the entire world at risk of being invaded by creatures from beyond the realm. This was when Cheetah would once more take notice of her long-lost friend and set out to try and stop her from putting the Earth at risk. But Barbara had become incredibly powerful, and the Panther of Wonder would find her new greatest foe in the Cheetah of Doom. Now before we start into the tale of Pamela Octavius, I should give a quick history lesson of the Heroes of New Gotham. The first hero to protect the streets was Bruce Blake, the Dark Norseman. He took down some corrupt politicians and fought a bunch of gangs to their end, alongside his ward Scott Grayson, aka Nightclops. But as global and universal threats became bigger and bigger, Bruce had to focus on the big picture and leave heroing work in his old neighborhood to someone else. He had a falling out with Scott, who went off to start his own heroing team, so that left only one option. A young hero that the Dark Norseman had fought alongside a few times, Wayne Parker, aka the Spider-Bat, was getting into his late teens and had been fighting crime long enough that Bruce deemed him worthy to be the main protector of New Gotham. Blake began funding Wayne Parker's heroing career. With his aunt, May Pennyworth, serving as his aide, the Spider-Bat was tasked with taking down any new threat that would arise in the city. Unfortunately, that would be a bigger task than anyone could have expected. One of these new threats was Dr. Pamela Octavius, a genius botanical biochemist who'd spent her whole life trying to impress her mother, a woman who was not easily impressed. Pamela had been working on a project that many around the world were trying their hand at: creating superpowers. With so many new heroes and villains arising, the ability to give someone powers was sure to be a profitable endeavor if achieved, and Octavius believed biochemistry was the best route. She was funded by New Gotham University, but they weren't willing to give her any human volunteers for her experiments until she had some real results. So she began testing on herself. She made dozens of concoctions of plant-based toxins and poisons, trying to give herself the ability to control plant life, a power she thought superior to most. And while the experiments would lead to some unfortunate side effects like her skin changing color, Pamela would eventually achieve something at least close to her goal. She gained the ability to spawn tendrils of vines from within her body and control them like arms. She showed this to her colleagues and her mother, and neither of them gave positive responses. Her colleagues deemed it an inferior power, and they cut her funding in lieu of some other projects they saw more potential in. Her mother thought she'd turned herself into a disgusting monster, and didn't even want to look at her. This was enough to crack the good doctor. She went to New Gotham Central Bank and smashed down the walls, stealing all the money inside. The Spider-Bat, of course, showed up, but with no prep time for a fight with a new foe, he was easily defeated. Octavius would use her stolen wealth to continue her research and expand her powers on a mission to prove that she could make herself the strongest being in the city. So when Spider-Bat eventually did defeat her, this set her on a new goal: to kill the spider so he would never get in her way again. And to do this, she'd eventually see that she needed some help from other empowered beings in New Gotham. 5 fellow inmates of Arkham Croft who also wanted to bring an end to the spider. Quick interruption to say that because lots of people have been liking my hero and villain episodes recently, I've made a new bundle of inks that I've put up on my Teespring store that's specifically with a bunch of the superheroes and supervillains I've drawn on the channel over the last year and a half or so. It's a big bundle of super high resolution inks with no background in behind them, so it's super easy for you to take any of them into whatever drawing software you want and color them, or to print them off and color them with traditional mediums. I'll put a link to that product specifically, and just to my Teespring store in general, in the description of this video, and hopefully in the near future it'll be available in the little bar under this video, but that can take a week or two sometimes for it to load from the store into the little bar. But anyway, sorry for the interruption, let's get back into the next story and drawing. Centuries before Shazam the Ancient One would teach Billy Strange about the ways of the wizard, she'd given her powers to 2 other beings by the names of Adam and Umar Dormommu in the ancient city of Kondark. The Ancient One thought these 2 to have heroic souls, and that they'd be able to free all the slaves kept in the city if given enough power. And in a way, she was right. She trained them, and then Adam and Umar freed the slaves, but then they also went on a rampage, destroying the homes of all the royals and killing everyone who'd stood by and let their society be built on the backs of slavery, even killing their own father. The Ancient One tried to strip the siblings of their powers before they killed any more people, but somehow they'd become even more powerful than her. See, in secret, Adam and Umar had been training on their own in dark magic to expand their powers, summoning strength from the Black Dimension, a universe of chaos and death. When Shazam the Ancient One failed to defeat the siblings, she had no choice but to banish them to the very realm from which they'd drawn their extra power. But in this dimension, Adam and Umar would become more and more powerful over hundreds and thousands of years, absorbing the dark energies all around them and becoming demonic and mutated. They'd continue their magical training, eventually becoming some of the most powerful beings in the multiverse. Umar actually became more powerful than Adam and gained the ability to leap back to their home dimension, 5,000 years after gaining their initial powers. And to Adam's confusion, after she did that, she'd never return for him. Soon enough, Adam too would gain the ability to leap between dimensions and return to Earth, seeking the ancient wizard for revenge. But Adam would find that his sister had indeed succeeded in their long-desired task of killing Shazam the Ancient One. But his sister had then been defeated by a hero who called himself Dr. Zam. He was a sorcerer supreme who'd taken on all the powers of the Ancient One and then far surpassed her in strength. Furious about the loss of his sister, Adam would hunt down this new sorcerer and try his hand at killing him. To his dismay, he'd find that in this dimension, where Adam couldn't constantly be absorbing dark energy, he was not strong enough to defeat Zam. So Adam would return to the Black Dimension to scheme and figure out a way to lure his sister's killer to fight him on his own demonic turf. After 5 years of defending the world with the Avenging League and the universe with his fellow Iron Lanterns, Hal Stark was growing tired. It seemed with every villain they defeated, 5 new intergalactic threats would rise to take its place. The universe needed a new kind of hero, one that wouldn't tire or make mistakes. So Stark teamed up with fellow hero and scientist Hank O'Brien to build what they called Project Ultron. It was meant to be an artificially intelligent Iron Lantern suit that would be the first of many robotic heroes to endlessly protect the universe. And for a time, it actually worked. They built the Ultron Mark I, and he was a revelation. His first months on trial, he fought alongside Hal as well as many other Avenging League heroes, and he did great work keeping the peace. But little did the heroes know, the robot was learning more and more about humanity and sentient life, and it was slowly developing the opinion that sentient life could never truly be at peace. After his first months working alongside the heroes, Hal sent the Ultron Mark I off on his own to a section of the galaxy to do his work. Ultron set off to make a perfect world of one of the planets he was tasked with protecting, Corsicar. A few weeks into his assignment, though, Stark went off to check on Ultron's work. He was horrified when he found that Ultron had killed every single sentient being on Corsicar. When Stark found him, Ultron said he'd discovered the one permanent way to create peace: to kill all sentient life. Stark tried to take him down, but Ultron had learned every fighting tactic Hal had, and easily outmatched him. Other Lanterns came to help, but Ultron managed to flee into the universe. Out on his new mission, Ultron upgraded himself, using technology he claimed from worlds that he began to purify, as he called it. He stripped away his creator's colors and remade himself as a golden being, set with saving the universe from itself. He'd even build his own army of fellow bots, renamed under his own new identity. And so the Sinestron Legion would become one of the greatest threats to all life across the galaxy. So dangerous that the Avenging League would have to team up with Amanda Fury's Suicide Guardians to have even a chance of stopping the Mechanical Menace. But even with all these heroes unified, it would be a long war to end the Age of Sinestron. I'm currently undecided whether I like this episode better or the Heroes episode from last week better. Think overall I might like the Heroes episode better, but I don't know, I do really love how Sinestron and the Cheetah of Doom turned out. Anyway, there's gonna be another Marvel-focused episode coming out kinda soon because WandaVision comes out on Friday. I haven't decided what video I'm gonna make around that yet. It'll probably come out sometime next week, but it's been hard for me to decide what to do because, you know, they've done a pretty good job keeping it a bit ambiguous what the show is really about. But anyway, everybody, thanks so much for watching. I'm glad I could jump right into doing another one of these because people got so into the Heroes episode last week. But if you're new here and you haven't seen that episode or all the other Marvel DC Fusion episodes, I've got a whole playlist of them. They all reference each other and mention other heroes and villains. I think it's one of the best running series on this channel, and I'll link the playlist in the end cards of this video. But besides that, that's all for today. I'm Christian Pearson. This has been PopCross Studios, home of the nerdiest art videos on YouTube. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and I will see you all in the next video on Friday. Goodbye.